Christine. Welcome to a very special book talk. Today we're going to be discussing Salt to the Sea by RUTA SEPETYS. And not only are we going to be discussing it, but I had the pleasure of interviewing Miss Ruta herself. There's going to be an extensive spoiler-free discussion in this video, so don't worry about being spoiled. I'll let you know if any spoilers come up. If you don't already know, Salt to the Sea follows 4 different teenagers in 1945 toward the end of World War II. Hitler is occupying a large part of Europe, and at the same time, Stalin is advancing on Europe. So thousands and thousands of refugees are trying to escape the oncoming Soviets, and this is the story of 4 people who are caught up in this chaos. I really enjoyed this book, and I don't read a lot of historical fiction, and I should read more because I really liked it. I would give it a 95%. Hello! I'm Christine, and today I'm here with special author guest RUTA SEPETYS. Hello! Hello! And today we're gonna be talking all about Salt to the Sea, RUTA's new book, which was fantastic. Lots of feels.
Lots of feels when I was writing it.
Emotional experience. Do you want to tell us about your process in researching for Salt to the Sea? It's historical fiction, if you don't know. It felt so real. I don't know, I felt like I was there.
That is the best compliment that you can give an author. In this case, you know, Salt to the Sea is hidden history. Everyone has heard of the Titanic, but at the end of World War II, there was a ship that sank with a death toll that was 9 times the size of the Titanic. Over 9,000 people drowned. And yet no one had ever heard of this. How do you hide a disaster, the largest maritime disaster in history? So yes, I did a lot of research. I traveled to half a dozen countries. I tracked down people and stories, and I was digging up clues, speaking to families of survivors, and that is my process. My process is not only writing, it's researching. And I do both at the same time because I'm worried that when I research, people are sharing such incredible testimony and emotional testimony that instead of separating myself from it, I try to stay present within it. Otherwise, I'm concerned that I might lose some of the emotional immediacy. So for you to say like, oh, the feels, like, that's because instead of saying, whoa, this is too heavy, I'm not gonna do it, I stayed in it.
I felt like I learned so much reading this book because I feel like so much of this area of history was kind of skipped over when we learned this time period in history. I learned so much about Hitler and that aspect of it, but the Soviets and what was going on over there, I didn't know at all. I feel like I learned like a little tiny snippet of it.
Well, and you're not the only one. This was my family's story. My family was affected by Stalin. My father fled from Stalin and spent 9 years in refugee camps, and I didn't know this story. So don't feel bad if you or your readers and and viewers don't know this part of history. I didn't know it either, and that's why I was interested.
Yeah, that's why it's also it makes it so much better. Like so fantastic to read it, like to have it out there because you don't know about it, and it's eye-opening.
Oh, thank you.
So you have a wonderful cast of characters in this book. I wanted to know how they came to be. Like, where did they start out, and how did you come up with these specific different people?
Well, as I was researching, I said I visited these different countries, and people view history and experiences through their own cultural lens. And so I decided, well, wait, it wouldn't be appropriate to just tell the story from, let's say, a German point of view. So I created 4 characters, 4 overlapping psyches, all hunted and haunted by tragedy and lies and war.
It's those hunted lines that really hit you.
And so then their fates converge, these 4 teenagers, as they get to the port and they board this doomed ship. That many people call the ghost ship. So we have a Lithuanian nurse, a young Polish girl, an East Prussian art thief, and then a German sailor.
And then there's like the wandering boy even, and the shoe poet. I loved them.
I did too. And sometimes I get so wrapped up in my secondary characters that they're like, even more, I don't know, important to me than my main characters, which is so wrong, but yes, there are some.
They really grow on you. Ingrid. But they were all so great. Did you have a favorite?
I do. I hate to say that, but my favorite is the shoe poet.
He's wonderful.
I know. Here is this old man who is running for his life, and he's this old elderly man amidst these young people, and he's sort of the voice of reason and the voice of calm, and he shares wisdom with them and cares about all of them. And here are strangers, but somehow the shoe poet makes them a family.
Yes, he bonds everybody.
He bonds everybody, and he even sort of pushes the two main characters, no spoilers, but kind of together and encourages things. So yeah, he's my favorite, I think.
No, I loved him too. He's my favorite. And I feel like I learned so much about shoes.
Oh my gosh, part of my research process, I can't tell you how much I studied shoes and studying someone's foot draft and what kind of shoes they would wear if they have a narrow heel and who invented shoelaces, like all these crazy things but when you're writing a book, all of a sudden, you go down this magical rabbit hole and you have to research, and I had to research shoes for the shoe poet.
That was wonderful. I found myself randomly bringing up shoes, like with my friend. The next day I was like, sorry, I'm reading from a point of view with like a shoe poet's there, and I just...
Totally. Yep, I'm the same. And now, the shoe poet in the book, he has this theory, the shoes tell the story. Mm-hmm. And now when I look at people, I'm always thinking, the shoes tell the story.
Seriously, no, that stayed with me. I was like, wow, you really can.
I know, right?
It's crazy. Tell us about your writing process, your actual writing. Like, what's a day in the life for you writing?
I thought when I became a writer that it would be so romantic, and I would be sitting in my pajamas drinking tea and tapping away at my laptop. No, I am on tour so much that I can't write every single day. So I go on these writing benders and I carve out time, and I don't eat, I don't sleep, I don't shower, I just go for it. So I'm a bender binge writer, and the process is really stream of consciousness. And for your viewers, this might sound crazy, but I write almost as if I'm seeing a movie. Like I can see and hear the characters and they're talking, and I'm just like, I'm just taking dictation. One thing I really stick to, and so for those of you who are writers, and I know many of you are, there's this great editor that shared a tip with me. Specificity is authenticity. And if you can give your characters and the scenes specifics, very detailed specifics. For example, instead of just saying she liked football, if you say she liked the Dallas Cowboys, all of a sudden the character has a tie to Texas. You know what colors they like. Maybe she sleeps in a certain jersey. All of a sudden, all of these details from one specific, start to build your character. Absolutely. So my writing process is about specifics, trying to get as specific as I can.
So you're like a super intense binge writer. I don't know how people do that. So you don't sleep, you go through like the night.
No. Oh yeah, definitely. I go through the night, drink lots of coffee and lots of tea, which is sort of cliche. But I get so into it, and I love the process so much. But I also have another theory that if I feel like I'm coming to a point where I might stop, I don't finish, because I stop mid-sentence. So the next day when I come back, I know I can just jump right in, and I don't have to think about it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So do you crash afterward?
Completely. I crash, but, and maybe some other authors say this, the characters are so alive in your mind and heart that even if, let's say, I go to Starbucks for a coffee, like I'm seeing them and I'm hearing them, and they're still in my head. So, I don't completely detach from them.
They're always there.
They are. They're real. And when I read other authors' books, like the characters, they're real to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you listen to a certain type of music when you're writing?
Thank you for asking this question, because prior to becoming an author, I spent 22 years in the music business. And I was helping artists and musicians tell stories, but through music. And as a result, music is such a huge part of my life. However, I can't listen to music when I write, because when I listen to music, I am listening to the bass line. I'm listening from working in the industry for so long.
You're so aware of it.
However, I definitely plot to music. I listen to songs. And also the other thing that I think is important to mention is that, we can read something and 5 minutes later not be able to recite what we read. However, we hear a song on the radio that we haven't heard in 5 years, and we can sing every word, and we know the melody. And that's because rhythm and melody are so powerful, and they make text memorable. So in my books, I try to incorporate melody and rhythm and flow, and I read my books aloud, and I think that's sort of, as I'm writing, what makes it memorable. And so I want writers to remember that melody and rhythm make something memorable. you know.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating, actually, to think about it that way. If you could travel back to any historical moment in time, what would you choose, you know?
Yes, and this might be kind of a cliche answer, but I would definitely go back to the 20s. I would go back to the 20s, or the other, which extreme, I would go to the Depression. You know, that sort of mirrors the kind of books I write. Like, I think that there is strength to be found in struggle, and there's wisdom in the wreckage, and going back to the Depression would give everybody a chance, you know, to find their true self and not search for money, but search for meaning. And so, you know, maybe one of those two time periods.
They're super deep one, or like, let's go back to
just
20s and dance and wear nice clothes. What are some of the books that inspired you as a writer, or that you really enjoyed and that stick with you through your life?
One of my favorite writers, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with, was a writer named Rod Serling. And he's probably best known for the series The Twilight Zone, but he wrote other things. And the reason I admire him so much is that he was a crusader for justice and fought against prejudice, and his stories had a deeper meaning and also had that rhythm. And when you even hear that theme for the Twilight Zone, it's so memorable. And if you heard the cadence of his voice, you could hear it. And so he's one of my favorites. I love all of the usual suspects in YA. I love Gil Forman, Ransom.
Did you read Harry Potter?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, because my next question is, what's your Hogwarts house?
Oh, I think I would love to say that I was something sexy like Slytherin. I'm Hufflepuff.
Oh, did you take Joe's new quiz on Pottermore?
No. Should I?
Yeah, you should. It's like the official sorting quiz.
And you were?
I am Ravenclaw.
Ooh! See, that's cool. I think that's cool. I think I'm probably Hufflepuff.
I mean, Hufflepuffs are nice. They're good finders. I
Not
feel like
very
you're
hot.
probably a Ravenclaw because you're really intelligent and your books are really well researched and thought out, and
I'm gonna take the quiz.
Take the quiz.
Okay,
Take
I will.
the quiz for sure. I've taken it 4 times. I'm Ravenclaw every time.
You are. I'm pretty consistent.
I'm a consistent Ravenclaw.
Okay, good.
My last question for you is, what are you working on next? What's next for you on your bookish journey?
Well, I know a lot of authors are superstitious and they don't talk about what they're working on. I am just the opposite. I tell everyone what I am working on because, you know, I write about hidden history. I'm a seeker of lost stories. And I'm a secret spiller, so people don't tell me your secrets, because I will tell everyone. And so my next book, everyone knows a lot about Hitler and some about Stalin, but we don't know anything about this dictator, Franco. Hang on, don't change the channel yet. Because during his regime, over 300,000 babies were stolen from families that didn't align with his regime, and they were gifted or sold to other families in Spain.
Oh.
And so I am digging in now, and I'm searching for clues, and I'm researching, and I love Spain as a country, and I'm published in Spain by Maeva through their YA edition department and also their adult department, and they're helping me with this book, and it has been so fascinating and exciting.
It sounds fascinating. I'm
Wish me luck.
excited to read it. What is this, next year? The next year?
Yeah. It
It's
takes
like
me
2 years?
Yeah, it takes me a
mean,
while.
that makes sense. You gotta do a lot of research.
Exactly.
It takes a long time to get it right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for
talking
having me.
to
This is such an honor and a privilege, and I'm so excited to be here.
Oh.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Go read Salt to the Sea if you haven't yet. And you can stay tuned for my spoiler portion where I'm going to talk about my feels from the book. That's it for the nice long non-spoilery section. Now I'm just gonna dive into a few feelings. It's gonna be a quick spoilery section, but I wanted to talk about a few things because I have to. I absolutely love the character of the shoe poet in this book. He is my favorite. He reminded me of my grandpa and of Dumbledore. I just really, really enjoyed his character, and I was so heartbroken at the end when he didn't make it. And I was just crying this whole sinking part. I could not believe how many people were on that ship. It was made for less than 2,000 people. And when they said that they were going to try to put 5,000 on it, I was like, what are you doing? That's insane. There were already only lifeboats for like half the 2,000 person crew. Then there were 8,000 on the ship. And then when the ship sank, there were over 10,000 people. That's absolute insanity. I can't imagine the chaos before the ship sunk, let alone the chaos when it was sinking. I hated Alfred. I hated that jerk so much. And I love that his downfall was ultimately triggered by the fact that he lost a shoe. Excellent. I feel like I learned so much about shoes, and I loved it. I loved Florian. He's definitely my other favorite character. I was shipping him and Joanna from the beginning. I loved the way their romance progressed. It was a really nice light to be able to follow in the darkness. Amelia was heartbreaking. She was so brave and so smart. She was so on top of things as we went along. Not only was she pregnant, she's gone through so much trauma, but she's still so strong. She sees everything, this girl. And I was so upset when she did not get on that lifeboat. And then she got on a lifeboat with freaking Alfred. You hate him. I knew from the very beginning that he killed Hannelore. I was like, he killed this girl for sure. She's one of those poor victims in his stupid Hitler song. Lo and behold, he gave her family up to the Nazis because she was Jewish. Alfred was scary. I hated how much trust our group had to put in him. Amelia not making it, I couldn't believe she didn't make it. I was so upset. It was like if in Titanic when she was on the door and the boat went by and it kept going and she didn't get off and find a whistle and be like, come back! Come back! She just fell asleep and died. No! I was talking about Florian before. At first, I thought he was some army guy. We all thought he was some army guy. I love that it turns out that he's actually an artist. And he's so passionate about it, and he's so good at it. It just was totally unexpected. I loved it. I loved Ingrid. Oh, I forgot about Ingrid right in the beginning. That moment where she gets past the Nazi checkpoint because she knows that his scarf is blue. Oh, it was such a triumph. And then she doesn't make it across the ice, and it's heartbreaking as hell. There's just one image that really hit hard and still sticks in my mind after reading it, of when the William Gustav left the dock and there were women with their children and they were trying to toss their children onto the boat and the babies would hit the side of the boat. Yeah, that brought me to tears too. Can't believe this happened. And the water was so cold you had no chance of surviving if you were in it for more than a few seconds. At the end when Florian fell into the water, holy shit, I couldn't. I was, no, we've come so far. He did not just fall in the water. He made it though, so my heart was okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings and favorite characters. Please share. I'm Christine. Thank you so much for watching. I'm at XTeenMay on Twitter. All my links are in the description. I make videos every Tuesday. I'll see you next time. Bye! Before we start, your last name, I feel like I always pronounce it wrong.
Sepetys.
Sepetys. Okay, I was saying Sepetus.
It doesn't matter. I answer to everything. Don't worry. Don't worry.